I heard the crash before I saw the destruction. The sound of breaking glass and splintering wood echoed through our home, followed by my daughter Lily's desperate cry. "Grandma, please stop." Heart pounding, I rushed up the stairs to Lily's art room, the space we'd carefully created together after her father's passing last year. At 8 years old, art had become Lily's way of processing her grief, her safe haven when the world felt too big and scary. What I saw stopped me cold. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, stood amidst a sea of destruction, her face twisted in a satisfied smirk as she systematically dumped Lily's art supplies into heavy-duty trash bags. Broken easels, torn canvases, and shattered paint bottles littered the floor. Lily stood in the corner, tears streaming down her face, clutching her special sketchbook, the last gift her father had given her. "What are you doing?" I managed to ask, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. Eleanor turned, her designer shoes crunching over broken colored pencils. "Olivia, dear, I'm doing what needs to be done. Lily needs to learn proper activities for a young lady. Painting won't get her a husband." "She's 8 years old," I said, moving to stand between Eleanor and my daughter. "Exactly. These are formative years. She should be learning etiquette, proper deportment, not wasting time with this." She gestured dismissively at the wreckage. "Creative nonsense." I felt Lily trembling behind me. "Mom," she whispered, "my portfolio for the school contest." The school contest. Lily had spent months preparing her portfolio for the prestigious Young Artists competition. Her art teacher, Ms. Martinez, had been mentoring her, seeing something extraordinary in my daughter's work. Eleanor must have heard because she smiled coldly. "Oh, you mean these?" She pulled out a folder from one of the trash bags, Lily's carefully curated artwork spilling out. With deliberate cruelty, she began tearing the pages. "There. Now you can focus on proper activities." "Stop," Lily cried out, but Eleanor continued, shredding months of work into confetti. "Grandma Eleanor knows best, dear. Your mother may encourage this nonsense, but I won't have my only grandchild embarrassing our family name with paint-stained fingers and artistic delusions." I wanted to scream, to grab Eleanor and physically throw her out of our house. But years of experience had taught me that losing control would only make things worse. Instead, I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone, starting to record. "Eleanor," I said calmly, "please explain again why you're destroying Lily's art supplies." She turned to the camera, completely missing my intent. "I'm doing what's necessary. James would never have allowed this artistic foolishness if he were still alive. My son wanted a proper daughter, not some paint-splattered bohemian." Hearing my late husband's name on her lips made my blood boil. James had been the one who first noticed Lily's talent, who spent weekends teaching her about colors and perspective. He had been so proud of her creativity. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "James loved Lily's art. He'd encouraged it, and you've just destroyed thousands of dollars worth of supplies and irreplaceable artwork." Eleanor laughed dismissively. "Please, this junk didn't cost more than a few hundred at most. Besides, I've already spoken to Margaret at the country club about enrolling Lily in proper activities. Deportment classes, ballet." I held up my hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Lily, sweetheart, go to my room and get the purple folder from my desk, please." As Lily scurried out, Eleanor narrowed her eyes. "Don't think you can undo this, Olivia. I'm doing what's best for my granddaughter." "No," I replied calmly. "You're doing what you think is best for your image. But you've made a terrible mistake." Lily returned with a folder, and I pulled out several documents. "These are receipts for Lily's art supplies. Professional grade materials, some imported specially. The easel you just broke, handcrafted, given to her by James before he died. The paints, from a specialist supplier in France." I held up my phone. "And now I have video evidence of you deliberately destroying them while stating your intent." Eleanor's smug expression faltered slightly. "You wouldn't dare make a fuss. Think of the family name." "The family name?" I laughed softly. "Eleanor, you haven't even noticed what you've really destroyed, have you? Those paintings you just shredded, they weren't just for a school contest." The sound of a car pulling up outside drew our attention. Through the window, I saw Ms. Martinez stepping out, followed by a distinguished-looking woman carrying the camera. "That would be the curator from the National Youth Gallery," I said quietly. "She's here to photograph Lily's work for their upcoming exhibition. The one they selected her for last week. I wonder what she'll think of this scene." For the first time, real fear flickered across Eleanor's face. You're lying. No gallery would. Mom? Lily's voice interrupted, stronger now. Can I show you something? She opened her sketchbook, the one she'd been clutching, and pulled out several papers. Official letterhead bearing the gallery's logo. Eleanor snatched the papers, her face growing paler as she read. The doorbell rang, and I heard our housekeeper letting the visitors in. This isn't over, Eleanor hissed, but her hands were shaking. I smiled, keeping my phone recording. No, Eleanor, this is just the beginning. The shock on Ms. Martinez's face as she surveyed the destruction was nothing compared to the gallery curator's reaction. Diana Wells, one of the most respected names in youth art education, stood in the doorway of Lily's ruined art room, her professional composure cracking. This is, she paused, kicking in the shredded artwork scattered across the floor. This is deliberate vandalism. These pieces were already cataloged for the exhibition. Eleanor, who had been inching toward the door, froze. Exhibition? What exhibition? Diana turned to her, eyes sharp. The National Youth Gallery's Rising Stars Showcase. Lily's work was selected as the centerpiece, her unique perspective on grief and healing through art. She knelt to pick up a torn piece of canvas. It was meant to inspire other children dealing with loss. I watched Eleanor's face as the reality of what she'd done began to sink in. This wasn't just about ruining a child's hobby. She had destroyed artwork already promised to a prestigious national exhibition. There must be some mistake, Eleanor stammered. Lily's just a child. Her scribbles couldn't possibly. Scribbles? Ms. Martinez stepped forward, her tablet in hand. Perhaps you should see what your granddaughter's scribbles look like to experts in the field. She pulled up a series of emails, official letterhead clearly visible. The gallery's board of directors voted unanimously to feature Lily's work. They're offering a full scholarship to their summer art program. Several private collectors have already expressed interest in supporting her future education. Lily, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Mom, can I show them the blue folder? I nodded, and Lily retrieved another folder from my home office. Inside were more documents, correspondence with art educators, preliminary acceptance letters from prestigious youth programs, and most importantly, a contract. What's that? Eleanor demanded, trying to maintain her authority despite her obvious discomfort. That, I said calmly, is a contract with the Mason Foundation. They've been sponsoring young artists for over 50 years. They saw Lily's portfolio last month and offered to fund her art education through college. The contract includes a clause about preserving her existing work. Eleanor's face went from red to white. You're making this up. James would never have allowed. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out my phone again. James is the one who contacted them first. Before he died, he sent them Lily's early work. Would you like to see his emails? I pulled up the email chain, watching Eleanor's face as she saw her son's name, his passionate words about Lily's talent. The last email he had sent, just days before the accident, was full of pride and excitement about his daughter's future in art. Eleanor's voice faltered. I was only trying to help, to ensure she has a proper future. By destroying her chances at a prestigious art career, Diana asked, her voice cold. Do you have any idea how many doors you might have just closed? The sound of another car pulling up drew our attention. Through the window, I saw a police cruiser parking behind Diana's car. That would be Officer Bennett, I said quietly. I called him while you were busy destroying evidence of your grandson's support for his daughter's talent. Eleanor's composure finally cracked. You wouldn't dare press charges. Think of the scandal. The scandal? I laughed softly. Eleanor, you just destroyed artwork already promised to a national gallery. You vandalized legally protected property. You invalidated contracts. And most importantly, I stepped closer, my voice dropping. You tried to crush an 8-year-old's spirit on the anniversary of her father's death. Officer Bennett appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene. Mrs. Mitchell. I understand you want to file charges for vandalism and destruction of property. Eleanor turned to me, desperation replacing her earlier arrogance. Olivia, please. We can work this out. I'll replace the art supplies. Some things can't be replaced, Lily said suddenly, her voice strong despite her tears. Like Dad's notes in my sketchbooks, his drawings next to mine. Those were our memories. The quiet devastation in my daughter's voice hit harder than any accusation. Eleanor flinched, finally seeming to understand the magnitude of what she had done. "Ma'am," Officer Bennett said, "I need you to come with me. We can take your statement at the station." As Eleanor was led away, Diana turned to Lily. "Your previous work may be destroyed, but your talent isn't. We'll adjust the exhibition, tell this story. Sometimes art is about loss and resilience too." Ms. Martinez nodded, already making notes on her tablet. "The foundation will want to document this. It might actually strengthen their commitment to supporting young artists who face opposition." I wrapped my arm around Lily's shoulders, feeling her straighten up despite her tears. "Mom," she whispered, "can I still make art?" "Oh, sweetheart," I hugged her close, "you can make all the art you want. And this time, we'll make sure nobody can destroy it." Looking around the ruined art room, I felt a strange sense of peace. Eleanor had tried to destroy something beautiful, but she had only succeeded in showing everyone exactly who she was. As Diana and Ms. Martinez began photographing the destruction for their records, I knew this wasn't the end of Lily's artistic journey. It was just the beginning of a very different story than Eleanor had planned. 6 months after Eleanor's destructive rampage, I stood in the National Youth Gallery, watching Lily explain her new exhibition to a captivated audience. The display was titled "Rising from Ashes," and it told a story more powerful than anyone could have anticipated. Photographs of the destruction Eleanor had caused were artfully displayed alongside Lily's new works. Each piece reflected her growth, her resilience, and her transformation of pain into beauty. The centerpiece was a large canvas depicting torn artwork reformed into a phoenix, each fragment containing a memory of her father. The artist's journey, Diana told a group of reporters, isn't just about creating beauty. It's about overcoming obstacles, finding strength in adversity. Lily's work demonstrates this at a level we rarely see, even in adult artists. Eleanor's actions had backfired spectacularly. The story of a grandmother destroying a child's art had caught media attention, but Lily's response to that destruction had captured hearts. The Mason Foundation had doubled its commitment to her education, establishing a new program to protect young artists facing similar opposition. "Mom." Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Grandma's here." I turned to see Eleanor standing at the gallery entrance, looking smaller somehow in her designer suit. The court-mandated therapy and community service had changed her. She'd spent 3 months teaching art classes at a children's shelter, an experience that had shaken her rigid worldview. "May I come in?" she asked quietly, none of her former arrogance present. I looked at Lily, letting her make the choice. My daughter straightened her shoulders, paint-stained fingers gripping her new sketchbook. "You can see my art, Grandma. That's what it's here for." Eleanor moved slowly through the exhibition, stopping at each piece. Her hands trembled when she reached the Phoenix painting. "James would have loved this," she whispered. "He does," Lily replied simply. "I feel him when I paint." Tears slid down Eleanor's cheeks as she turned to us. "I was wrong, so terribly wrong. I thought I was protecting our family's reputation, but I was just protecting my own prejudices. You can't undo what you did," I said firmly, "but you can learn from it." She nodded, pulling an envelope from her purse. "I know, that's why I'm doing this." She handed it to me. Inside was a legal document transferring a significant portion of her personal wealth to a new foundation, the James Mitchell Fund for Young Artists. "It's independent of me," she explained quickly. "Professional arts educators will run it. I wanted to make sure no other child faces what I put Lily through." Before I could respond, Ms. Martinez approached with exciting news. "Lily, the Juvenile Arts Council wants to feature your story in their national campaign. They're calling it Art Survives." Watching my daughter's face light up, I saw James in her smile. He'd always said art had the power to transform pain into purpose. Lily was living proof of that. Eleanor stepped back, understanding this wasn't her moment, but Lily surprised us both by grabbing her grandmother's hand. "Want to see my new sketches? I'm planning a series about forgiveness." That evening, after the gallery closed, I found Lily in her new art studio, a space 3 times larger than her old room, secured by state-of-the-art locks. She was sketching something that looked like a family tree, but with paintbrushes instead of branches. "Mom," she asked, not looking up from her work, "do you think Dad would be proud of how we handled everything?" I sat beside her, remembering James's words about art being a bridge between hearts. "He'd be proud of how you turned destruction into creation, hate into understanding." That's what real artists do. Lily nodded, adding color to her sketch. Grandma's different now. Not perfect, but different. People can change when they face the consequences of their actions, I agreed. The important thing is that you stay true to yourself. The moon cast shadows through the studio windows as I watched my daughter continue to create, unbowed by those who had tried to dim her light. Eleanor's attempt to destroy Lily's art had instead revealed its true value, not just in monetary terms or prestige, but in its power to heal, transform, and bridge divides. James would indeed be proud. His daughter hadn't just survived an attempt to destroy her passion. She turned it into a movement that would help protect other young artists for years to come. Sometimes I realize the most beautiful art comes from the darkest moments, and Lily, my brilliant, resilient daughter, was just beginning to create her masterpiece.